Now, there have been some startling allegations that have been made in this report that has been published by The Guardian, which is a UK-based publication. And mind you, I tried to read through that entire 5,000-page report, that article that is flimsy in its evidences or eyewitness accounts or any sort of proofs that it claims to have provided in this report. In fact, so flimsy are these claims, these quote-unquote evidences, that there are some screenshots that have been shared by some obscure, non-identifiable people from Pakistan that have been put forth, taken up, and a story has been weaved around it. So the question I asked The Guardian is that who is it that the publication is lobbying for? Why is it that The Guardian continues to attack India when the crime that happens with the terrorists that are being given safe havens in Pakistan continue to live without any problems, without any hindrances, and making India the bad guy? Is this the way that the West and particularly United Kingdom is going to play out? Well, the allegiances that Pakistan has shown to the royal family and of course the United Kingdom is well known across the globe. Since partition, it was the stepmotherly treatment that was provided to India, and UK took complete advantage of Pakistan and turned it as its vassal state to get obligations fulfilled from Pakistan and its generals. So in a situation such as this, why is it that The Guardian is giving half-baked information, influencing readers and the public, and shouldn't defamation charges be put against The Guardian for such flimsy evidences and a story, like I said, that has been weaved without any proper investigations and reportage? Let's start my conversation, and joining me on the telecast is Joyita Basu. Joyita, let's understand over here that this is a hit job, that there are so many discrepancies. In fact, they have not even been able to put a correct timeline as to how the events unfolded. When the 20 terrorists that they claim India killed under the raw agencies, when they talk about the Canadian terrorist, the Canada-based Khalistani terrorist that was killed in Canadian soil, and they refuse to even admit the fact that it is the Canadian authorities, the Canadian government, the political will that is allowing safe havens and spreading terrorism into India by the Khalistani groups.
Well, actually, Megha, if you look at what the story has done, the story is primarily intended to add some ballast to the claims and the charges that have been made by Justin Trudeau, and of course the Americans as well, in terms of the Nijjar killing and alleged assassination attempt by somebody of Indian origin on Pannun. If you have noticed, first of all, the story was itself riddled with mistakes. I mean, they were talking about Pannun's death in the story. Pannun is very much alive, and I mean, he's supposed to be under CIA protection, so he's very much there. CIA and FBI protection, he is very much there. He's sitting there and bad-mouthing India, threatening to kill everybody. And Mr. What's that guy's name? The US ambassador, he is supporting his right to, Eric Garcetti, threatening to kill Indians. So, okay, now apart from that fact, this is what exactly the Guardian story is trying to do. Some people are saying that, okay, they want to demean Mr. Modi in the eyes of Indians and all. Well, of course, if that is what Guardian's intention is, then they do not know they do not know India, because this is going to add to that, popularity of Mr. Modi as a strongman who is not going to take terrorist activities directed towards the country lying down. So, I am guessing they wouldn't have understood it, but yes, the sole intention is to add give the Americans and the British and more importantly the think tank types and the investors who would like to invest in India are handled by saying, look at India, it is just like Saudi Arabia, does not follow the rule of law, just the way Saudi Arabia. That is why the mention of Khashoggi has been made in that article, by the way. So basically they are trying to equate us with all that, and everything is directed towards denigrating in India, towards making India's image mud. And this is all part of the narrative game that is being played against India.
Right, right, absolutely. Gautam, quickly get into the conversation. And with regards to what Joyita was saying, there's mention of Saudi Arabia and Khashoggi's murder that happened, the assassination that took place. They've equated India to Russia. KGB, they have equated India to the RAW in India to Mossad. But they forget to mention the assassinations that have been executed by the CIA under the orders of the American government again and again in 1966, when the mysterious crash in Mont Blanc happened, and it was Dr. Homi Bhabha who got killed. That ended up stalling the India nuclear program.
Yes, if you look at in more recent times, all the dossiers that India has presented to the government of Pakistan after 26/11, after all the various bombings that used to take place regularly in India, 1993 onwards, and every one of them were just squarely ignored. And absolutely nothing was done about acting on them, handing over the people mentioned in them, or even commenting on them beyond just accepting them and filing them in a dusty room, I would imagine. So for them to speak of a concerted program of assassinations abroad conducted via Indian intelligence agencies is a little rich. And even to date, all the people that are infiltrating, waiting to infiltrate at the LOC are all Pakistan-based. They talk very richly in this Guardian article about Indians bribing poor Pakistani people. Well, it is these poor Pakistani people that have been used as cannon fodder by the Pakistani army now for 20 years plus. It makes absolutely no sense for the Guardian, which is, after all, a leftist paper on the brink of bankruptcy, with a begging sort of set of paragraphs at the end of every article saying that we're dying and please support us, otherwise we will die. And so the credibility of such a paper is obviously affected by its dire straits. Now, they are supporting Pakistan. They are supporting Trudeau. Trudeau has not been able to furnish a shred of evidence with regard to Nijjar. India has said that as far as Pannun is concerned, there was a rogue agent. Well, he didn't succeed in any case. And neither is the rogue agent being extradited to either America or India, nor is the Pannun investigation going any further.
Okay.
So for America, Britain, the five fingers, as they were, of which I think New Zealand and Australia are jumping ship and saying, look, there's no evidence, so we cannot pursue this any longer with regard to Nijjar. It's just a way of trying to pin something on India, because there's growing disquiet that these people are not in a position to control India anymore, and that our rise is rather inevitable, and there is very little that they can do, as in the old days, to influence events and do us down.
Yeah, fair enough. You make valid points. I'm going to quickly get in Alok Mehta, editorial director of India News. And Mr. Mehta, the question I want to ask you over here is, when this article that has been published does not even have credibility in terms of who are these individuals that have spoken to the reporters of The Guardian, what is it when you talk about the screenshots, the WhatsApp messages that they have received? I mean, anybody can concoct a story. Today, if I were to sit from a newsroom and type something about the CIA, type something about the MI6 of United Kingdom, and pass it off as a credible piece of news, and because of the position that I hold of a journalist, you just stamp it as something that is credible and that is worthy of the country and the world's attention. So how do we differentiate between these hit jobs that are obviously happening against India, keeping in mind, of course, we are in an election year, our elections are happening in just a few weeks' time, versus what is authentic, credible, fair, transparent journalism?
Megha, certainly it's a very mischievous report or the article in Guardian and British, what Mr. Mukherjee also mentioned. Even the United Kingdom is also suffering an economic crisis is there, and the Guardian itself is also suffering very badly. And then you see the Sunak is the Indian origin Prime Minister is there. Everybody feel about it. NRI is also there. But the other parties, Khalistani, are very active in Britain and Canada. India doing a lot in this lobby, Pakistan lobby, are again go to the CIA, what you also mentioned and the Joitaji also mentioned. You see there are a number of books, CIA and KGB, they used to work, this lies, propaganda. One always say the Hitler days also, the World War always it happens. So MI5 was more powerful, even the CIA in the World War and all. So this kind of work, not the MI5, but what I feel, the CIA, ultimately what the Pannun was also supported in the United Kingdom, protected by the agencies there. Sometimes we have a very good relations. People ask why you are blaming somebody in the country, we have good relations. Certainly, we always have a good relation with the United States. But nobody like China, China is certainly create more mischief. But Pakistan lobby was very active earlier, before Modi ji or even 20 years back. When we used to go, when in Gujral period, the instability was there in India, you see people used to think that Pakistan lobby was very strong in New York, United Nations also. So you see the campaign against India, this is not the only test. We used to, number of NRIs also support in Indian elections. This is the election year for the United Kingdom and United States also. So this is the election year not only for India, but to confuse people and create some human rights cry. Always happen. Why Rahul Gandhi or the Aam Aadmi Party people are just go to London and New York and lobby United States for Kejriwal, and for Khalistani people they support, or even Khalistani they accept that we are funding for Kejriwal party. So you can imagine this all propaganda by this article is true that this is totally false, just malign our agency, because Indian always says that we are not going to attack any country or we are not go and kill somebody. We have a justice system, international court also, our justice and our chief justice were appointed as chief justice there too, because we believe in justice. And that's why Harish Salve, how he worked for our people there. Yeah. So I think this kind of propaganda is against India and very planned way.
Absolutely.
Against India.
I agree with you. Very important point made. Adit, would you like to comment on this, particularly on what Mr. Alok Mehta has said? He's, and that's quite apparent. It has come out in the news. There are pictures, there are articles, there is evidence enough. When we talk about Rahul Gandhi getting clicked with Jeremy Corbyn, who at one point of time was the leader of the opposition, leader of the Liberals in the United Kingdom. And then you take a look at Rahul Gandhi hobnobbing with the George Soros associates with the non-profit organization that George Soros runs in United States, and several of these visits that Rahul Gandhi is compelled to make. he's obligated to do, because I don't understand that in the middle of his Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra, elections are on the anvil, and suddenly you disappear for 2 days, you halt the yatra, and you fly to United Kingdom. And to do what? To hold these seminars and lectures in Cambridge. And who then sponsors these events and seminars? Well, it is the left propaganda and the lobbying that happens. So this is a very smartly constructed propaganda machinery that is working at the global level, and that is getting its share of support from the domestic players, political parties here in India as well.
Thanks, Megha. Just picking up from where Mr. Mehta essentially left off. So there are a couple of aspects. So one, which is the political aspect of, how Rahul Gandhi is essentially conducting himself abroad. I think it's a fairly well-known strategy in the West, where they want to limit the winnability or the majority that the BJP essentially gets in the 2024 elections. And all of this ploy is essentially to reduce the margin, reduce the victory of margin, so that the West can essentially control the politics of India. When the United States essentially say, India jump, India basically retorts back saying, how high should I jump, sir? So that is the kind of politics that is essentially being played. And that is where Rahul Gandhis of the world are essentially useful idiots. They come abroad with a caveat to essentially play out the brand India card, but all they do is essentially tarnish the image of India, irrespective of whatever political party has been there in India. When you go abroad, you essentially paint a picture that, we are all Indians abroad, united in spirit. But that is where he's essentially failed. But now coming to the Western academia and the Western media side of things, it's one cannot argue that it's a concerted effort by the likes of the Guardians, the BBCs of the world, the New York Times, the Washington Post, where they have a certain blind spot towards Pakistan, so they will essentially ignore all of the atrocities that they essentially perpetrate within their borders and outside the borders. So, which is why all of the abductions of the minority Hindu women and Christian girls in Pakistan go completely unreported. People like Mia Mittu, who are sitting in Karachi and openly proselytizing, young girls as old as 13 and 14. It never makes it to their reporting standards at all. And when we look at the Hannah Ellis Petersons of the world, look at their reporting history. From calling Holi a festival where women are essentially subjugated and forced to be under lockdown because it is essentially seen as a card for men to essentially go and harass women. So those kind of articles, to the ones that she's written on CAA, completely negating the history of the partition of India, the Nehru-Liaquat Pact, and only looking at it from a myopic prism of today's politics. So these are the kind of media and the journalists that need to be called out for their rabid and feral reporting standards. As even Joyita Di mentioned, the kind of schoolboy errors or schoolgirl errors in this case, it was completely shocking that this journalist has not been benched yet. Megha.
Okay, Joyita, quickly coming to you now. The Guardian report also mentions that there were pressures on the Pakistani government as well, the Pakistani intelligence as well, because they were unable to actually neutralize the terrorists who they were giving safe havens to within their territory. And then they're looking at targeting India. As Gautam said, that you are picking up these quote-unquote poor Pakistanis, paying them, using them as jihadists, and neutralizing these set of terrorists and the associations with Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba and so on and so forth. Now, how far-stretched is this, figment of imagination that the Guardian has now portrayed as a gospel of truth in its publication? And second of all, would it not make more sense for the Guardian to unravel, to expose what is going on within Pakistan? Because it was Osama bin Laden who was found in Abbottabad in Pakistan and neutralized by the United States. It is in Pakistan that Lashkar-e-Toiba and Hafiz Saeed still continue to inhabit and are flourishing. You have Dawood, who continues to be given safe haven in Pakistan. There is ample proof that there are these training cells of the jihadists that are created, that are in numerous numbers with hundreds and thousands who are being trained to turn jihadists. So why are there no exposes that are coming out from the West on these most pertinent issues that need to actually be addressed?
Well, the fundamental problem is that, Western media in particular, and when we are talking about Western media, it is not just the media, they are all kind of fronts for certain forces in the West. They all have a problem with rising India. That is the fundamental problem. So, as a result of which, what we are witnessing is that these kind of hatchet jobs are being done. And when we are looking at, because if you are looking at that particular story, there is no questioning as such why Pakistan is such a breeding. I mean, how is it that India is just going into Pakistan and finding 20 terrorists? And these are 20. I mean, Imran Khan himself had talked about 40,000 terrorists. He knew about, that these Pakistani terror organizations were nurturing. So, when you are talking about Pakistan, there is no way that you can compare a situation like say Jamal Khashoggi and with these Pakistani terrorists who are actual killers, who have been massacring people, who have been killing. They have now also turned, a large section of them have turned on Pakistan. The whole thing is, you see, ISI has done the script, it has been presented to Guardian, possibly through that Baloch guy. What they have done, to appear and try to appear neutral, Guardian has very carefully picked up 3 authors in that article. One is obviously a Pakistani with a Muslim name, one is a lady with a Hindu name, so possibly with having some allegiance to India, the other, and then there is a Christian name, Hannah, whatever that woman's name is, who is actually British. So possibly these all 3. So they have tried to give a veneer of, I would say, neutrality by trying to give this kind of even selection of the authors has been done in a manner so that they are not questioned. What they have done, they have just presented an ISI script and given it to the world. But at the same time, what Indians are saying also, and this has been known for a long time, that all these killings have been basically masterminded by ISI. These are all ISI hits. For various reasons, they have fallen out. And if you are looking at Pakistan right now, what is happening, it is not just India, they are even targeting the Taliban government in Afghanistan by using that ISKP. All their terrorists are getting shelters under Pakistani army's care. It is not just Osama bin Laden, there are hundreds and thousands of terrorists who are there, who are being nurtured in spite of the fact they don't have money and food to feed their own people. They are nurturing these people by keeping them in state guest houses. We have been writing about this in Sunday Guardian. So the thing is, you see, but the sad part, yes, it's absolutely right, how these people, in their zeal to denigrate India, in their zeal to basically paint India, throw mud at India, in the eyes of the Western audience, Western readership, they have done this. Because as I said, if they seriously believe by reading their article, one Indian voter, half an Indian voter will change his decision to vote for Mr. Modi, then they live in a fool's paradise. Okay. That is not going to happen. No one cares.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Gautam, quickly coming to you. Now, there are some people who are reading it differently. And I don't know if the Guardian and the West has, gotten trapped in its own trap over here, because there's some who are saying that because it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi's, will to neutralize, to catch the people, the organizations, the terrorist organizations that have attacked India, that have, paralyzed and jeopardized the sovereignty of our country, who need to be taught a lesson, have been taught a lesson.
Well, it is certainly rather welcome that the people who have been killed were one and all involved in large and heinous terrorist acts against India. So whether it's the ISI bumping off their own assets, or whether it is some kind of internal warfare, the net result is we are being benefited by the absence of these people from the scenario. There are plenty more. As Imran Khan said, there's 40,000 of these people, of which the prominent leaders must be numbering in their thousands. So if this keeps on happening, it's not doing us any harm. And certainly, if they're happening within Pakistan, then Pakistan's law and order machinery is in trouble, because not only are the Balochis and the Taliban, Pakistani Taliban, and various other people opposed to the government attacking, but they are also attacking their military bases.
Yeah, okay.
They are starting to attack their people and politicians. And this is all good news as far as India is concerned.
Right.
But Pakistan needs to review its own internal situation.
Yeah. Doesn't it play into the Prime Minister's popularity, and it does quite the opposite of what these Western media and Western organizations and countries are trying to achieve. Okay, Mr. Mehta, when we talk about the credibility of a country like India and its intelligence agencies like RAW versus what ISI and Pakistani government and their generals stand for, is there an iota of doubt of what Pakistan represents?
You know, Pakistan already isolated all over the world, but even then some lobbies are still working. And that's why I think the India, Mr. Jaishankar, therefore yesterday I think he mentioned about it in Security Council, we have a very strong case now. All over a number of countries they are supporting. Only the Canada sometimes they have their own issue. Or in Labour Party, if they are coming in power in Britain, there is some lobby. That's why I mentioned that there is a lobby working, Pakistan lobby, or maybe Chinese lobby, or even the vested interest in defense production. We are also going very powerful. So they want that the Indian image, sometime because of the United Nations also say, okay, they kill, or their agencies are killing this. What they are doing, the Pakistan and their own people. What they are trying to do is just to impose on India. But I think they want to disturb, they want to influence the British people or the sometime in the Western people who believe that, okay, for human rights, nobody should be killed, they should get justice. But the terrorists, if they are doing terrorists, what they did in the United Kingdom or in France and United States and all over the world, the terrorist activities, India, 1 point program for the whole world, we want to free from terrorism. That's why India, not from today, and that's why Mr. Mukherjee and Zoida ji also mentioned since long, when Mrs. Gandhi days also, or the Rajiv Gandhi days, it's not a question of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Because now we have a strong government here, and they want a weak government, or they want some more money for those people, the terrorist activities.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Quickly, another 30 seconds, Adit, of how do you see this coming to a conclusion? How should India be reacting to this? Should Indian organizations, media centers be proactively working towards actually demanding from the CIA the declassification of the mob law files with regards to what happened to our then Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri in Tashkent, and who was behind his mysterious death, who was behind the Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba that led to the removal of Castro?
So, with regards to the hypocrisy that United States has often demonstrated, I don't think we'll get anywhere with regards to that. I mean, that is who they are. They are essentially hypocrites. They still play the strategy of good terrorists and bad terrorists, which is why they're still harboring people like Pannun, despite, overwhelming evidences against him, a UAPA filed against him, he's still, roaming around freely, walking around freely, threatening to blow up airplanes, and still without any dire consequences. So that is essentially who the United States have essentially become, hypocrites in all. But the larger point is with regards to what do we do about the feral narrative that the media and the academia has been involved in over the last 75 years or 77 years since India's independence and thereon. Initially it was a anti-India rhetoric or an anti-India narrative, which is now transcended into more like a hybrid between an anti-India and an anti-Hindu narrative. We see this more overtly from the left-leaning intelligentsia in the West with regards to how the BBC essentially painted Holi to be a dirty festival, for instance. And they call Jai Shri Ram a provocative slogan. So it's those kind of narratives on how do we actually go about dismantling them. Should we actually attack them directly head on, or should we start lodging all of their misdeeds and start putting it out in the open domain so that even people within India who are essentially absorbing this information, even they are aware of the kind of sinister activities that these media institutions are essentially involved in.
Okay.
Megha.
All right. I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me for this discussion.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.